Every year on this day, I try and make it a point to be out before daybreak and remembering this is Anzac Day 2024, and it is a day to sit down and reflect. I'm not out here to celebrate war or celebrate killing. Anybody that thinks that has just missed the whole point. What we do is we celebrate freedom. We celebrate and remember and honour the men and women that did answer the call when they were asked. And they didn't do it because they were forced. They didn't do it as slaves. They did it as free men and women. And we're not just talking about Gallipoli. We're not just talking about World War I or II. Yeah, we're talking about all the actions that our people have been involved with. And I say our people, I mean people from Australia, New Zealand, Canada, America, New Guinea, all the people that stood to the line when they were needed. So yeah, you're remembering the sacrifice of those people, and you wonder if the call came now, whether you'd have that same fortitude to stand and answer the call. And I believe that spirit is still here, still in our Aussies, in our Anzac people, New Guinea, New Zealand, and Chansey, even in our Border Collie dogs, had to be part of it. It's answering the call and doing the duty. And that's one of the reasons I love these dogs so much, our Border Collies, that they will march into the jaws of hell, won't you? Just because it's what you do. And that's the same with us. When you stand for freedom, that's what you're doing. If you get the call, you answer the call. And that's what would have got those men to fix bayonets and go up over that trench. You need to stop and think about that for a while, people. Just the feeling that you would have had, you're in there, in a trench, put the bayonet on, and you know pretty well that you're going over the top and you're going to die. But you still do it. That's the Anzac spirit. It's something that can't be thrown away now. I see some people come on my channel and they make comments on there and they say, McGhie, stay out of politics. And I just pity those people. I really do pity those people. This isn't politics. If you think that, you're a fool, right? Don't even use the word politics. This isn't politics. This is about doing the right thing. When you get the call of duty, you do the right thing. Now, everybody can have their own opinions. I agree on that. Off you go. That's part of freedom. America call it their First Amendment. And their Second Amendment. Never forget that. Here in Australia, we're being mustered, not with Border Collie dogs, not with the Good Shepherd dogs. We're being mustered by bloodhounds. We're being mustered by, the hounds of the Baskerville. People that don't care. They want us in a mob. They want us pushed into their control for that very reason, so they can control us. Border Collie dog like this fella, he will muster and help and look after animals because it's what he does, so they can live their lives. Might be getting a bit too deep for some people, and if you miss that, well, too bad. I've got a flag hanging on the wall of my office, and some people have said, explain what that flag's about. Now, I'll try and go into more detail of it later on and give you full details, but It's the Eureka Stockade flag. Now that particular flag was carried by a very courageous young man and a guy that's got extreme principles. It was carried at one of the protest marches in Melbourne, proudly flying and then proudly over his shoulders as they faced up to the men in the bubble helmets and the riot police that just hounded them on foot and on horses. And all those people were doing was saying, do the right thing. This is in a city that was locked down for close to 2 years. And the worst traits of politics came out at that time, with dictator Dan just going overboard and his crew going overboard against decent men and women of Australia. And those people said, enough is enough. You have to do the right thing. And they got out of their trenches and stood. And I salute that. I don't know how else to say that. Eureka Stockade history basically was a small uprising on the goldfields. And it was, you could say, political. But they stood, but they did see a change. They saw a change for the better, and things went on. So we never had a civil war. We've never had that here yet in this country, like other countries have. But this was a point where the people of Australia stood and said, enough is enough. We saw it again during COVID, which was the biggest con, in my opinion, the biggest con on the world that there's ever been. People are just starting to wake up to that now. We woke up to it pretty early. So there's big changes around the world. We see what's happening in America. Our strong brother over there that backs us up, and a lot of people criticise America. Greatest people I know are from America. Awesome, awesome, patriotic people. So I salute them as well on this special day, because they will stand and fight, and they've done it so many times in so many actions. But the politics gets into it over there. The politics gets into it, and what we're seeing is just a swamp of evilness and corruption and indecency that have taken hold of the higher echelons of power in that country. And we see the same thing here. We saw the same thing in New Zealand with, you know, the buck-toothed wonder over there just going totally overboard against decent Kiwi people. So this is the time for me to sit here, reflect on the people that are standing, the people that are willing to fight for freedom, and I salute you people. The rest that just want things easy and want to put their heads in the sand or back up out of the sunlight somewhere, you people go along your merry way, because you're going to come to a sticky end. This is not going to go nice. So if the people will stand, be patriotic right across Australia, ones that support me on our channel, yeah, thank you very much. I hope you're out here remembering this special, special day. And yeah, I'll give a few more details on that flag there, but like I said, it's a special flag to me because that was people that stood their ground against, unarmed, against overwhelming odds. And they stood their ground, and I believe it changed things. It was the start of change in Melbourne and right across Australia, and we see those good people now standing. So yeah, lest we forget, here's a little bit more about the Eureka Stockade situation and why that flag was designed the way it has been. Thanks, people. Have a great Anzac Day. First, let's look at the situation that led to the Eureka Stockade Rebellion. We go right back to the goldfields in Victoria and New South Wales in the late 1800s. This would have been a tough place to live, with tough people there from Ireland, from Scotland, from Canada, probably all countries in the world, flocking there to chase that gold. They had gold fever. With these miners were their wives and children, eking out a living, and for some of them it would have been an extremely tough existence. So when a licence fee of 30 shillings a month was imposed on everybody on the fields, that was a huge price to pay at that time. So in 1853, the governor at the time, Charles La Trobe, was sent a petition signed by about 5,000 miners asking for this to be reviewed, but their concerns were ignored. Tensions started to rise to a high level because the police would often do licence hunts. They would go around and actually hound people to produce their licence. Even if they were working underground, digging in a hole, they were supposed to have their licence on them at all times. And when you look back, the traps, the police that were used at the time, a lot of them were ex-convicts, many of them from Tasmania, and the reports are there of brutal and corrupt practices going on with people put unfairly in prison simply for trying to make a living. So a man by the name of Peter Lalor rounded up about 10,000 people, and they put a flagpole up and flew the brand new flag known as the Eureka Stockade flag. This was made by another patriot, Henry Ross, a Canadian who actually enlisted the help of 4 women to quickly make this flag, and they erected it and they swore an oath of allegiance to that flag. I'd urge everybody to read that oath. Here it is now. This was what was read out and accepted by the people with a resounding amen. So if you haven't read up about the history of the Eureka Stockade Rebellion, I'd suggest you do. Don't just go to one place. Look at all the different accounts that you can of this uprising, and you'll see that it was so significant that Peter Lalor was even put on one of our stamps. Now, the consequences of the Eureka Stockade was that 13 miners were sent to trial, but they were released with no charges. The citizens of Victoria had made their voices heard to the government of the day. They looked into the incident and they found that it was actually a very unfair tax that had been put on miners, so it was reduced to £1 per year as a miner's right. Half the police were sacked, and so were the gold commissioners who were giving out the licences because they were found also to be corrupt. One of the most significant things that happened after that was 12 new members were added to the upper house of the Victorian Parliament. 4 were appointed by the Queen. That was Queen Victoria at the time. But importantly, 8 were elected out of the miners who held a miner's right. Now, one of those was Peter Lalor himself. He had survived the Eureka violence, and he went on to serve as a politician in Victoria. Many have said that this was the day that Australian democracy was born. I think the take-home message still sounds loud and clear. When injustice becomes law, resistance is your duty.